Last spring, I visited Darren Sander at his farm near Sovereign, Saskatchewan, where he runs Crop Aid Nutrition. This is a Canadian bio-stimulant company that manufactures everything from scratch right here in a 30,000 square foot plant he built alongside his own operation that he runs with his brother Kelvin. Darren's a farmer at heart first, and he's built this company on transparency, fair pricing, and a product that fires up the biology already in your soil instead of guessing at what's missing. He built it to fix the #1 problem in his soil: compaction. This system has had an impact on millions of acres, improving soil health and economics for their customers. He gave me the full tour, and here's what I saw. Okay, Darren, tell us who you are and where we are.
Darren Sander, owner of Crop Aid Nutrition, and we're out in the plant today near Sovereign, Saskatchewan, which is just southeast of Rosetown, on my farm.
Yeah, so tell us about this facility and why you decided to build it right at the farm here.
Yeah, so a few reasons, I guess. We got about 30,000 square feet here now under one roof, which makes it extremely handy. Before we started out in multiple buildings, so this is much better. And decided to build it right at the farm for a few reasons. Number one, so I'm close to it every day. My office is in my house, of course, and I can just run back and forth, so that's handy. But really, sharing labor is a big one. So I can have guys working in here all winter, and then they're in here all spring, and then summer we shift some guys to seeding, and then harvest everyone's either driving trucks or grain carts or whatever. So able to utilize the labor year round, which means I can employ guys year round full time and keep the same crew of guys, which is fantastic. Most farmers know that hiring new seasonal help every year is hard to find, and it's a bit laborious training new guys every year. So we got a really good crew of guys here. We can cost share them with the farm and yeah, keep them full time. So it works really well.
Yeah, lots to talk about Canadian made and local. We like that you're local. What does it mean to you? How many folks have you got hired here?
Yeah, so there's 6 guys here full time at the plant and on the farm combined. They're all local people. The furthest one would travel from Saskatoon, our plant manager, so it's a little over an hour a day one way. Everyone else is close by, 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes away, so that works really good. Yeah, so we're able to have a bunch of local employees and do everything here. Most of our ingredients that we source for Crop Aid, everything we can, we source from Canada. So it's, you know, we try and do everything as local as possible. We buy all our vehicles in Rosetown. We just support local and try and keep everything, you know, the way it should be.
Yeah. How did you get to be going from a Saskatchewan farm boy to going around the world learning about all this stuff to making it?
Yeah, well, that was a long journey, of course, but basically started back coming out of university in '91 and coming to the farm and farming with Dad, and I thought that would just be what we did for the rest of our lives. But, you know, after about 7 or 8 years and going into some droughts, found that the farming wasn't that lucrative back then, and we had some production issues. The land was getting really hard. We got Regina, heavy gumbo clay here, high magnesium land, so when it gets dry, it gets really hard. And so we just felt we were missing the boat on a few things. So diversified out into the soil health industry, which at that time was very new and smoke and mirrors a little bit, no science, but got an off-farm job and just started with that, working with a company, and then did that for a few years and started to look at what wasn't working, and what some true problems were with the products at the time. That's just 20 years ago. And then got an opportunity to go to Australia and do some R&D work there for about 8 years, which is where, you know, we learned a lot of things and ran into some researchers from all over the world and different ingredients, different methods, different technologies that aren't used in North America. So that was a real eye-opener, and we started producing some products over there and getting them out on some land and then bringing that back home. Did a few years here on our farm, and then, yeah, went into production in, I think it was 2017 here. And brought all those ideas and knowledge back home.
Yeah, with biology, soils are very different all over the world, and there's tens of thousands of biologicals and biostimulants, but it means a lot to be making it right here for soils right here, right?
That's right, yeah. So our product is scattered around the place now. We have trials and some product down in South Africa. We have product down in the UK, which we'll be going to do crop checks here this year. So that's exciting. All over Canada, northern USA. The product is really nice because it works wherever we put it down, because we're not putting anything down to try and guess what's missing in the soil. We are simply putting a biostimulant down that fires up all that native biology that is in the soil lying dormant. So, and that kind of a trigger works worldwide. It's a plant-based trigger, so a very natural product, I guess.
People, even smart people that I know very well, should know the difference, still say biological. But there's a huge difference.
Yeah, huge difference between a biostimulant and a biological. So a biological simply is, bugs in jugs, bacteria or fungi, either live or spores in jugs, foreign strains to the soil. And biostimulant, putting something down in the soil, either a food source or a carbon source, or basically mimicking an exudate from a plant that would normally drip through the roots. That's what we're putting on the soil, and that sends a signal to the biology to come out of dormancy and get rolling and start that nutrient cycle. A lot of the things we do as farmers these days, because we're not growing native vegetation on our land, we're not getting that native exudate into the soil, and that's the trigger for the biology. So we have simply developed a very similar exudate that a plant would drip down, and we're spraying that on the land, and it's doing the job fantastic.
What are the logistical differences or advantages to be able to manufacture a biostimulant and get it out from here all over versus a biological, which is a living thing?
Well, the big thing is, I guess, shelf life. Biologicals have a whole bunch of issues, right? It can't freeze, can't be mixed with certain things, can't have chlorinated water. Shelf life, death of organisms happens very rapidly. It's a very small window. So there's a lot of challenges there with live biology. Farmers would know even from using inoculants, you buy it just before seeding, it can't freeze, it's got to be in the shade, not in the direct sun, all those little things. So, but when we're talking live bacterial strains and fungal strains that we're going to spray on crops or on land, it's even even harder, because it's not with a, it's not with a food source like a peat-based inoculant or liquid-based. So yeah, there's lots of issues there. With a biostimulant, with ours anyways, there's no shelf life. It can freeze, so it's got a lot of advantages that way, that's for sure. And being centrally located, I guess, in the prairies, shipping lanes are pretty good, east, west, and south, so it's not too bad.
Give me an idea of the whole workflow here, from bringing in the raw ingredients, producing it, shipping it out, your sales network. How does this get to the farm eventually? Yeah,
so we bring everything's done here in-house, including our foliars, the seed product, and the biostimulant. Everything's made from scratch here. So we're not importing any products and relabeling them and selling them. We're actually blending and manufacturing everything right here and making our own products. So raw ingredients come in, of course they get batched up, and then from here they'll blend and whatever for the length of time they need to, and then they'll get put into usually totes, 500 or 1,000 liter totes. With majority of the business is that, but a lot of 10 liter jugs go out the door as well. So there's a couple of these tanks that get directly fed to the bottling line, so where we would fill 10 liter bottles, so that's a bit laborious, but it's it's a necessity. So,
yeah, how do producers get using this product? It seems like there's a little bit of an on-ramp in terms of demoing and getting used to it. How does that usually go?
We're year 9 right now, so we've got a pretty good foothold in the market. We got lots of experience. We're not a new company anymore, so. A lot of farmers have heard about us already or know someone that's using it. So word of mouth, I guess, is the biggest one. We try extremely hard to put out the best possible product, latest, greatest technology. I'm a farmer as well, so I realize that no matter how good it works, it has to be priced accordingly. So, we want it priced very economically. I think we have one of the most economically priced products in the market. Works fantastic. So that's very important as well. And customer service is absolutely paramount. So we try and make sure that anyone that uses our product gets a crop check, especially all first-year guys. It's mandatory for our sales team to make sure they're out there digging plants and soil in, end of June, early July, throwing that soil on the tailgate and just showing the farmer exactly what's happening and all the changes on his land from where he's used it to where he hasn't. It's quite noticeable in 4 to 6 weeks. So.
Yeah, what are you seeing in 4 to 6 weeks when you go out there with the shovel?
Well, the number one thing is the shovel actually goes into the ground and we can dig a nice scoop of shovel and throw it on the tailgate, whereas we're jumping on it and breaking shovels where we're non-treated. It's, compaction is pretty much the number one problem on most farms these days, especially when we get into some drier conditions, drier finishes. It just sets up and turns to concrete. So we're really noticing where we have that biology fired up and it's rolling and that mycorrhizal fungi is doing its job and taking the compaction out. It's just a lot looser, nice, aerated soil.
I imagine driving around the countryside here in the 80s or 90s, like the size of equipment compared to what there is now, it's just incredible. Do you have any idea of the scope of how compaction has increased or changed? I know we try and keep putting good tires on and spreading it out, but things are massive now.
Yeah, compaction is, it's as big a problem as ever. So, it's there's really no way around it. We're all dragging big equipment around, and so the big equipment and the art of farming really, that it's a cause, I guess, of the compaction and the types of plants that we're growing. Definitely is a cause of the compaction because we're not growing native plants, so we don't have that native exudate to get the biology going. But we can still do all those things, have maximum production. The key is how do we get that native biology fired up every year and rolling if we don't have native plants to put that trigger in the soil, and that's where crop is in. We'll replace that native drip or trigger or exudate, chuck it in the sprayer, and away we go. And it works extremely well.
You're very respectful, Darren, to your worthy rivals, but I know there's things that you want to change about the industry. What are those things you wanted to change about the industry when you started this company?
Yeah, well, a few things were transparency, of course, full legal labels. If your product requires CFIA registration, it should be CFIA registered. So all of our products that require registration are the ones that aren't required. We still run through CFIA to get the paperwork that says they don't require, but they still run through our quality control, our manufacturing process, our labels, make sure everything is the way it should be. So that's very important to me as a customer as well. I want to know what I'm buying. I don't want proprietary information. I want to know the ingredients. I want to know the actives list like any other chemical I buy on the farm. So that's important. Price, as we mentioned before, is very important. There's no reason we need to be spending $20 an acre or more for these products. The technology is there. We can make this stuff locally and get it out to the farmer and pass the discount on to the farmer being a local manufacturer. So price needs to be very affordable for farmers to use.
What has kept you up at night about keeping up with the growth or keeping the quality of the product, or is there anything that has been a big challenge?
The growth has been controllable. We don't do a heap of marketing, like I said before. It's word of mouth is really, trade shows, word of mouth. The crop checks we do with our farmer clients, they bring their neighbors over. We have a talk. That's just really been the core of our growth. We do a bit of marketing, of course, like anyone else, radio, social media, and so on. But the growth, overbuild. Every time we do an expansion, we overbuild, and then we seem to catch up to that in a year or two, and just keeping ahead of it that way. Got a real good relationship with all of our suppliers. I guess we learned, as many companies did through COVID, that when the supply chain gets shut off without notice, that's a problem when you're a manufacturer. So now we carry a year's supply on all of our products. So we can run into a short-term problem with, let's say, tariffs, for instance. If things jump for a few months, we don't have to deal with that. We got good stock here all the time. So, and that provides a bit of insulation for our company. So, every time there's a problem or a spike in the market, we don't have to pass that along to our customers. We can eat it or avoid it. So that's been real good too. Keeping a heap of stock on hand is to ride out those peaks in the market for high prices and just buy in the valleys or the normal times. So it lets us maintain our price. We haven't had a price increase since COVID, and that was only due to gouging for raw ingredients. Simple as that. And we won't increase the price unless we absorb a price increase on our end.
You're very transparent. Obviously, there's some things you can't share, but one of your big achievements has been getting everything to work together in the tank, in virtually every tank across Western Canada and beyond for tank mixing. Logistics huge. That's been a huge challenge. I mean, and a lot of companies in our space with whatever they're using for ingredients, to be able to say, yeah, we can tank mix with every chemical under the sun on the farm and every type of water, that's a huge undertaking for anybody, any chemical company. So that's an ongoing project all the time with our chemistry department. So, but yeah, we're almost in the middle of May now. Haven't heard of any issues this year at all. So it's been fantastic. So we're learning every year too to do things a little better on our end, and always testing with new chemistry that's coming on the market that guys are dumping in the sprayer. So always learning. Are guys thinking about the water that goes into their sprayer tank most days, or is it just run and gun?
Yeah.
What do you recommend? I
mean, water is very important, right? But I'm not sure how much of an emphasis it is on most farms. But anyone that we're dealing with or talk to, whether they're using our products or not, we try and educate as much as we can. The water is important just to get the best efficacy and bang for your buck out of your expensive chemical program. Really, I mean. The worse the water is, if the pH is too high or we get too much TDS in it, it takes away the efficacy of your chemicals. So that's no good for anybody. So including our products, we want everything to mix nicely and get the best bang for the buck. So water is important. We do sell a water conditioner to help guys take some TDS out and get the pH right. So.
Right, the citric acid.
Yeah.
So what are we all looking at here? Do you want to walk us through a little bit?
Sure, we can just start in this corner. We'll just do a walkthrough. So this is a wash bay. When we first started out, we used to wash quite a few totes, farmer returns, and then, sometimes we'd use them, sometimes we wouldn't. We don't do that anymore now. We use new totes for everything. Foliar fertilizer are one-use totes that we get back, but we ship everything out to another company now. And they steam clean, reseal, retag everything, and then we get them back. So this was a very busy room for a couple of years, not so much anymore, but there's always stuff that needs to be cleaned up and dusted off and washed, so it gets used quite a bit. Over here is our blending facility, and we have in-house water storage at the back that's hooked to town water, so we use very good water here as well in our manufacturing. And so everything's metered and scaled and filled and blended here. And some of the tanks are finished product and some are raw ingredients. So. Yeah, and you're making product today. We had to shut it off to do this interview. Yep. So just the big frenzy is off. Now it's almost the middle of May, so the big frenzy's off for the bio-stimulant. But now we're just firing up for the foliar fertilizer. Everything's made right here in these tanks. Yep. And so the raw ingredients, you've used some very interesting, I guess you could say almost natural ingredients for your product. Yeah, so the ALS, which is ammonium lignosulfonate, that's our key ingredient in our seed primers and our biostimulant. It's, I don't know of any other company using ALS right now that I'm aware of, especially in Canada. It is a fantastic product. It's, according to a lot of the researchers that we deal with, phone never stops ringing. It is probably the best biostimulant on the market today, but it is hard to work with, I guess, for manufacturers. So a lot of guys shy away from it, but we've got that sorted out, so it works extremely well. Secret sauce and kelp and lignin? Yeah, the kelp, kelp's pretty standard. Lots of people use the kelp, the seaweed extract. It's just a fantastic stress reliever for crops. It's also a good biostimulant, plant-based ingredient. Got some plant growth hormones in there, etc. So it's a very good product overall as well.
Amino acids?
Yeah, that's something we add to everything we do here. Amino acids and peptides, that goes in our foliars, seed primers, biostimulant, everything gets amino acids. A key component in growing crops, both in the soil and in the plants. Yeah, amino acids are very important.
And then the micros are more of a trigger, a balance to...
Yeah, the micros we use, all EDTA chelated micros, just meaning they have an organic acid process, or they've been through that, so they got an organic, bond around their atoms. So it just makes them easier to get into the plants through the waxy leaf coating, if we're talking spraying on plants. That's important. Plant available micronutrients. You can buy other forms, sulfates, oxides, etc. But the EDTAs we find do the best job for our product.
Do you find you recommend to customers to put, say, half a liter of your foliars with herbicide to soften it? Does that help? Yeah,
it depends what they're after. If they're not after a full foliar program and they're just looking for a crop safener for chemical stress or burn, yeah, half liter of our Rebound works extremely well. It's a high phos product. It just lets that plant get through that stress and just kickstart. So that works very good for not a lot of money.
And you have two foliars. Do you recommend one for certain specific crops or circumstances over the other, or?
Yeah, we've got Rebound, which is it's a higher N, higher P product. No potash, a little bit of sulfur. So that one's really good for early stage cereals when you're looking for a nitrogen kick. Very good on pulses as well. Most guys use that one on the pulses. Pulses always seem to be a little bit short of nitrogen, or we don't put enough on. And the nitrogen fixing in the soil, I mean, there's a lag from seeding to when that kicks in, so there always seems to be a bit of a nitrogen, or can be a nitrogen shortage at that time frame. So the Rebound is very good for the pulses and early stage cereals. The React is a little lower N and P, but higher potash and sulfur. It's fantastic for canola and late stage cereals.
Well, folks, that's Crop Aid Nutrition, a Saskatchewan farmer building products for farmers right here on the prairies. If you want to learn more or try it on your own acres, check out the links below. Thanks for watching. And thanks to Darren and the crew for giving us the inside look at how they do what they do.